Oh, no. Good evening, YouTube. Back to another episode of the Killer Comic Show. It is us, the bad boys of the UK comic book community. We've got Tom from Not Quite Mint. We've got Andy from Perpetual Comics. And we've got, I'm so happy to say that he's back on the scene. He's bringing us his comedic values, his fantastic, entertaining videos. The one, the only, Ben Crampton. How are you doing, you sexy bunch?
Bloody hell, you hyped us up there, didn't you?
Yeah,
nothing but down from here on in.
Dude, have you been on the Sunday or something?
No. Do you know
Charlie, you've been on the Sunday, mate. You're very red.
I might just, cold as ice now. There we go.
It's better, mate.
Let's go that way. Oh, I always get
look at him with it. You've spent more than £10 on that lighting, haven't you, sir?
I got it free, actually. Definitely. I got it free. So, how's everyone been anyway? Feels like ages since I see you, look.
Yeah, definitely ages since I've seen you.
About 45 minutes to an hour?
Too long, mate. Absolutely too long.
It's Thursday, which means I basically just live inside of this square on various streams.
That's it. You don't go anywhere else apart from this little square.
But we get nice names. You're trapped in a box. But I think I'm happy, and I think the other two will be happy as well, that you've finally broken out of this box now and you're back on our screens.
Yes,
I am indeed. Yes, thank you. I want to jokes aside, I actually want to thank you guys for your support and encouragement. I think to just shut up, Andy. I'm trying to be tender. It doesn't happen often.
I can feel it.
That's not me. Thank you very much for helping me kind of get back to the right headspace, and I'm excited. The thing is now I'm going to be doing cover of the week, panel of the week, and read of the week, so I really don't have to spend time trying to come up with any ideas because that's a pretty set template that I've got myself there. So I'm excited, and hopefully people kind of catch on in the weeks to come, and if not, then you're obviously missing out on the 4th best YouTuber on the UK comic book scene.
Does that mean, did you just go 1, 2? Does that mean I'm 2, Charlie's 1?
4.
Yeah.
Look, 4. Do the maths.
It's a thought that counts.
Yeah.
You can't do English. You can't do maths. Bless him.
No, I can't do any, mate.
Not easy, is it?
No,
easy.
It's hard work for me, mate.
But we've got us 4 here. We've also, let's give a shout out to the chat. We've got Luke, who's been on every single stream by the looks of it this evening. What's happening, Luke? We've got
come to ours.
We've got James. Yeah, he wasn't on yours. We've got James with the screwdrivers.
Yeah, James didn't even come to ours.
We've got Captain Comics from across sea. I wonder what port he's in this year now. And then we have, who else have we got? We've got
if no one else is there, Charlie, that's fine.
We've got Firehawk. We've got Firehawk. We've got
Firehawk.
Who else have we got? We've got Tom Malin. Tom's in.
Oh yeah, he's in.
Nice one.
I'd sack him right out, mate.
You'd what?
Did you say sack him right out? What did you say?
Just get rid of him. Sack him right out.
Disgusting.
That's the tone for the evening sorted. Yeah. Thank you. That's the bar.
There we go. There we go. So we're going to do something new a little bit new this week round. So normally it's me. I will pick the comics and I'll say, right, we're going to read this week. This week, though, I've kind of given it back to you guys.
Like a dictator, Charlie.
No, I'm not a dictator. I'm easy. I'm giving it back to you guys. So basically, I've turned around and said, right, you each pick a comic and you'll take the hot seat, you review it, and then we do kind of what we've been doing anyway, but we've all selected the comics that we want to read. I think it's a better way of reading the comics we enjoy instead of being force-fed the comic that you might not want to read and it's not really your genre or something like that. So the comics up tonight, we have Batman Dark Detective #2 selected by Ben. We have Strange Academy #7 selected by Tom. We've got Kaiju Score 3 selected by Andy. And we have Stake #1 selected by me. Now, is there any way you guys want to do it first? Who wants to go first?
I'm happy to go first if you want.
Right, cool. So, Tom, I'm just going to give a quick shout out to Flicks and Comics all the way from across the pond. And, just just a massive shout out to her. So, you know, all the UFC, if you watch UFC, all the video editing, the post editing and stuff like that, she's your girl that does it all.
Awesome.
Oh,
She does
cool.
all the promos and editing and stuff like that. So, massive shout out to her.
Was she involved in zooming into Conor McGregor's face as he had a little nap?
When he was having a little nap? I'm not sure. She might be able to answer us. Who knows? But so we're going with what we're going with first. Strange Academy, number 7. So there was 4 covers out this week. This is the main cover. We had cover number 2.
Oh, I love a homage.
Like this.
Yeah, I love a homage cover.
Trade Virgin, and then we have. This was quite cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, I like this one.
All these character covers are fantastic.
Yeah, these are done by Arthur Adams, and it's literally the character spotlight ones. He's done various ones, and then this.
I mean, for me, Arthur Adams, I don't know about you guys, but I honestly think down the line he'll be held in the same regard as, you know, Jim Lee, Alex Ross.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think he's one of the best.
I wouldn't be
throwing it
surprised.
out there.
Oh, I thought this one would have been the main cover, considering it's starting the second arc, but
yeah,
that's not what we went with.
Does
Tom,
that speak to you in My Chemical Romance Black Parade kind of way?
Yeah.
Don't know whether that's what it's going for. But...
And just to confirm, Flicks and Comments said, I cannot confirm nor deny.
Oh, she's cheeky.
Cheeky.
Either way, seeing
with
someone
that,
smug get beat is always pleasurable. So I enjoyed it. Thank you, UFC.
And before we do get started, guys, we do have Francesca Fantini, who is the artist on my selected comic, which is Stake number 1. So she will be answering questions, if you guys do have any, regarding the art later on in the chat. So hopefully she will stay with us and she's not too put off by us to begin with. But jumping straight in, what did you guys think of this?
Well, I'm a massive advocate for this whole series. I think Strange Academy has been one of the best things that Marvel has done. I was going to say during lockdown, like literally last year and this year. I think it's the best thing they've done. I like that it's fresh. I like that you got brand spanking new characters that you can get your teeth into. There's no real kind of. I think me and Ben spoke about this on our channel about how it does feel a little bit like they're rehashing the X-Men and the Wolverine, but I've never read that. So for me, it's all fresh and new. And I just think it's really, really good. So I'm a massive advocate for this. I think Scotty Young and Herberto Ramos are doing amazing things. And it's nice to see Herberto Ramos actually doing interior work, which I don't think he's done for a while. And it's nice to see Scotty Young getting recognition for his writing style. And I'm really loving it. I don't know. Can we be spoilers from the previous issue?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. Let me just. I've done a new overlay. So
get your graphic out. If you worked so hard to do it, there it is.
Spoiler warning. There we go.
Spoiler warning. So at the end of the last issue, we obviously had. If you have read it, you get the unfortunate passing of Doyle Dormammu, who has been the best character throughout the whole series so far. He's just a lovable character, and that's what I like about this series. Is it's very heartfelt. You kind of fall in love with each individual character for different reasons. There's a couple of Norse guys in here who are like literally assholes, but you kind of love them for it. And then there's Emily, who's the main character. I love her. I think she's great. And then there's the character that's like a zombie. She's kind of really cool. They're all really cool characters, and I think they gel well, and you kind of feel for them all, and they've all got a little bit that you can relate to. And also there's bits you don't particularly like about them, which is kind of fun. Anyway, at the end of last issue, we had obviously the passing of Doyle Dormammu. So this issue is kind of the what you would say the ramifications of what happened to him and how they go forward with that. And this issue literally had my heart like I was like, oh my god! I was like, just cheers, Scotty Young. Like I really felt for this issue. Like during the whole thing, I was like, poor Emily. And how she deals with it, and then finding out some of the things you do find out, and then how it actually ends this issue is just incredible. Like the whole thing I thought was a really good, solid issue. If you haven't read any of Stranger Things, Strange Academy, go and read it from 1 to number 7. It's a must read, 100%. What did everyone else think?
I have a confession to make. So I hadn't read any of Strange Academy before the show.
Get him out,
yeah, cut me off. That's it, done. The only reason that I read it, I've got all the comics ready to go, but I was kind of forced into it because it was your pick, and I didn't just want to read number 7. And I was missing out. I was completely missing out. The artwork is tremendous. The color work on it as well, especially with the guy that's on fire.
Delgado, isn't it? Delgado.
Yeah.
He tends to always work with Humberto Ramos, and it's just gold every time.
Unbelievable. And the story is just fantastic. The first sort of 2 or 3 issues, I thought it was kind of a like, Harry Potterish, which I enjoyed, I liked. But then, as you say, got into the 6th and the 7th issue, and it was just, I was there, and it was fantastic. So thank you for introducing me to Strange Academy.
Did you find, mate, that like, I think it's probably 3 issues in, that you were so invested in the characters that you really wanted to just read more? Which I think is a real testament to how well it's been written.
Yeah, 100%. No, yeah, you felt as if you already knew the characters after 2 or 3 issues, and you wanted to find out what happened. And the fact that it's getting to like a cliffhanger stage, I couldn't wait for issue 7. So it's definitely going to be one that I read on a weekly basis now, or whenever it comes out, every couple of weeks.
I mean, I'm a bit of, before Ben like goes in hard.
What about his review?
I'm a bit of a soft sell. So like, obviously 7 Secrets has been like a roller coaster of emotion. With this one, at the end of issue 6, when we're dealing with the aftermath of Dormammu like passing and Emily emotions up and down, I was just like, this, how can this get any emotional? And literally, I just thought it pulled every single emotion into one point. I loved it. I was like, oh my God, it is a great comic. And to be fair, Andy probably did the right thing, like reading it all at once, because I think to begin with, they were coming out every 3 or 4 weeks. And now issue number 7 came out this week. And then next week, we've got issue 8 coming out straight away.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
So
not quite an exclusive.
Right, guys, time check, 17 minutes. It's been 17 minutes till he plugs.
See ya.
Here we go.
No, I've done my job.
So I also have a confession, and I also hadn't read any of Strange Academy, but as anyone who has watched me on streams before, I think we had a chat about it even on this stream, I think last time. Good. I'm glad to see you're focusing on the actual content, James. Unbelievable.
I love the fact he's referred to you as a wee Benji.
Yeah, wee Benji. That's sometimes how I'm known on the scene. So the reason that I hadn't read any of it is that I am a massive fan of the Wolverine and the X-Men run from Jason Aaron. Humberto Ramos actually did a ton of work on that at the beginning as well. And I just felt like the whole concept and everything, I was like, it's a rip-off. Like, it's actually a rip-off. And I'm still bitter that we don't have a Wolverine and the X-Men series anymore, or, a lot of those characters that I grew to kind of love are really kind of fallen into the background of the X-Men kind of scene at the moment. So I was bitter and twisted. So I decided not to, read this. I was wrong. So I smashed out all. Guys, you know what? Sorry, I come here to give my opinion, and people. I'm not being outshined by. No, I'm not going to throw it. It costs far too much.
You just lost 3 viewers there because you did that.
Yeah. I was wrong, guys. This is absolutely incredible, and I still think it is a bit of a rehash in terms of the fact of the matter is it's about school. and you know, it focuses on the pupils and the relationships between the pupils. All the pupils are very odd in their own kind of individual way, very strange and very different to each other, and that is what Wolverine and the X-Men was. However, as Tom says, after the third issue, you are completely invested in, you know, if not 1, 2, 3 of these characters, all of these characters. Scotty Young's done an incredible kind of job at really balancing out various different personalities. Aesthetically, it's just, you know, one of the things I loved about Wolverine and the X-Men was kind of how ugly some of these students were. You know, you have iBoy and Brew and things, but and this is exactly the same. You know, aesthetically, you have such a variety. You got, you know, Doyle, who's obviously got a flaming kind of weird, or you know, face, and you've got is it Gus, who's the Frost Giant, who obviously I relate to on an uncomfortable level, and I just think it's incredible when you do invest emotionally. There's fantastic scenes where you know, they kind of stick up for themselves with the thugs in the alleyway in New Orleans. I love the subplots, you know, with what's her face kind of hiding the fact that she's a zombie. That's just so interesting. And I think it's those little subplots that I'm probably investing in more than the wider picture. You know, the whole Willow thing, I kind of cared about less, I think, than I care about those individual character arcs. So like Doyle obviously is struggling with the kind of fact that his destiny is put in front of him and it's not a very nice destiny, you know, and obviously you've got the secret zombie, and who's the lead character?
Emily.
I mean, she's a great character because she's relatively normal compared to everyone. She's kind of the one that they all think is sort of ordinary, but ultimately, you know, she's, as it stands, showing more of a control of her power than anyone. With sort of being able to kind of take the third eye, and oh my gosh, the artwork, the third eye alternative reality kind of taking part, and that there's an amazing run on Doctor Strange, and I think it was when, you know, the teacher who like looks after them, wears the beanie, what's her name?
She's the librarian.
Yeah, so I think she was introduced in this arc.
Zelma? Is it Zelma?
Zelma, yeah. I think she was introduced in this arc for Doctor Strange a while back, and it's such a good arc.
It's got isn't it, for that one? His Ramos doing that artwork, isn't it?
Yeah, and Chris Picallo, who is another artist I'm a big fan of, and yeah, it kind of threw me back to that time, because I know that Doctor Strange has a lot of moments where he kind of goes into that realm where he sees what we can't see, and yeah, I was wrong. It's brilliant. It's fantastic. I am fully on board. I've started to work on a school uniform cosplay. I'll see you there.
Of course you have. Did you know what I just noticed?
With this comic.
I just noticed. I don't know if anyone else noticed that. So obviously, Doyle passed in the 6th issue, and his face has been blacked out.
Yeah, he's greyed out.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just
Which,
a subtle.
I don't want to say it, but X-Men comics do that as well.
Yeah.
I want to know when we're getting the run of action figures for these characters.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be said for so much of Marvel comics.
I have a feeling that this has been such a good series for Marvel, and people are really getting on the bandwagon of it. I mean, I think the first issue's on its 5th or 6th print now. I have a feeling this will be a TV show that they'll do, because they're brand spanking new characters that nobody knows anything about. So it'll be brand new. It'll all be new.
Well, the thing is, for me, it's like they're in an awkward position at the moment, Marvel Studios and Disney, because they've obviously acquired the rights to X-Men, but the X-Men movies are in such a state, and the legacy has been so kind of twisted and kind of beyond repair, that it's going to be really hard for them to kind of reintroduce the X-Men as we know the X-Men, with Xavier, Magneto, blah, blah, blah. So something like this is a way of telling you know, a strange story with students that are misfits and things like that. I'm all for. I would happily have this as a live action series over the X-Men at the moment.
Yeah, I think I would.
Yeah,
I mean, in the first issue, it gave they released the director's cut, and it had all the line drawings and the artwork and everything of like Scotty Young and Humberto and stuff like that. So I honestly, I'm glad I invested in this comic because it's such a great comic. How's your yogurt, Ben? How is it? What's on the menu tonight? Is it monster flavored cookie dough? Look, there we go.
I wish I'd have got one of those. I might text the missus, tell her to bring me some food.
Cheers, guys. Chin chin.
There we
What
go.
about this for a panel or
Oh,
panels?
mate, that is beautiful. I mean, I
was expecting some panels tonight, but
yeah. Well, I didn't get because to be fair, a lot of
I had a headache.
would have been spoilers because the final panel was my favorite panel of the entire book.
Yeah.
Trying to remember it. It would have been really good if you sent it to Charlie and then we had that to see.
I mean, that is insane.
Yeah, and I love how kooky that is. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so off the like. The thing is with Doctor Strange, I actually think he's handled best, and I cannot remember for the life of me who wrote that run that I'm in love with, but I think Doctor Strange is handled really well when you handle him with a bit of humour, a bit of kind of tongue in cheek, because then it means that you can pretty much do anything, like have a giant Vishanti tiger or whatever that he's gone to talk to kind of deal with, and it sort of stops being ridiculous because he addresses that it's ridiculous, you know, and you have those little moments of quips and humour and things like that. So I actually really enjoy this version of Doctor Strange as well, rather than the kind of, you know, floating into an Avengers scene and just kind of waving his wand.
Yeah. There's a scene in this comic. There's a scene in the comic where he has a conversation with Dr. Voodoo, and they're literally going to and fro, like arguing sarcasm and everything like that. And I like Doctor Strange like this. I couldn't get into the Doctor Strange comic arc, but he's wicked.
Can I say as well, Dr. Voodoo is sex on legs. That man has absolute swag and style. Like the character design, because I mean, Brother Voodoo's been around for a while and he's never really been properly at the forefront of any key stories. I mean, he was kind of front and center of Avengers and I think Savage Avengers and things like that, but he is such a cool character and I think they're doing a really good job with it. And you said, Andy, about Harry Potter. I just binged on Harry Potter, like all the films for the last week. And it's kind of like Harry Potter, but cool.
See, I was Lord of the Rings. I think I watched 2 Harry Potter films.
Yeah, my miss Harry Potter.
Yeah, I can't see. I want to get into it, but I've just noticed when we was talking about toys, we got a little perk up from Luke, and he started talking about toys. He went like a mere. And then Firehawk 2069 Ritter said, "Thanks to you lot, just got my first NECA pack."
Nice.
And Luke was happy. Boom!
Welcome to the dark side.
He got the Splinter Baxter animated.
Nice.
And Luke has very cool. I have that on pre-order, but it's still a way off for us here. Both Splinter and Baxter look epic. So I definitely think this. I'm a Funko Pop collector.
I'm glad to see the chat's focused on the subject in hand.
Yeah, I know.
Ben, the run that you're talking about, Doctor Strange. I just quickly googled it. I thought it might be, but it's Jason Aaron runs. It is.
Of course, it is.
Jason Aaron.
Of course, it is.
I didn't want to say it out loud without confirming it first.
Yeah. I mean, what a hero! What a hero! I've been lucky enough to meet him actually at Thought Bubble a few years back, and I just literally, I think I kissed his feet. I can't remember. I blacked out.
Glad you said feet.
Yeah, £75.
I kissed his feet.
See ya.
But I think we're all in agreement that Strange Academy is pretty damn awesome. I'm hoping that there's another 6 issues to go with this.
Yeah.
You could say, Charlie, that it's a killer comic.
Nice. Ding 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 ding.
Get that man a yogurt.
I need a dingly boob, don't I, or a dingly bell, or whatever it is.
You do need a dingly bell, mate.
See, one of the things I noticed about Strange Academy as well, and we always talk about the art and the writing and how good it is, but I noticed how good the lettering was on this comic. It made it so clear and easy and enjoyable to read. It wasn't a chore to actually trawl through it. I think
because Doyle's is like slightly butted and
then you got
but
Alvin's,
it's not
like
hard to read.
It's just overall great. It's going to be interesting to
especially so big up to the letterer.
Yeah,
on the letterers.
Yeah,
especially how this ended. I'm like, this is probably one of the comics that I'm like, I can't wait. Do you know what I mean? And I'm eager that it's coming out like a week or 2 weeks in.
Creighton Crowell is the letterer.
Shout out.
Big up yourself.
Shout out. But yeah, I think we can all agree that was a great comic. If anyone in the chat hasn't read it yet, I did put the spoiler warning up, so if you didn't block your ears or anything like that, we're trying our best. I've got bubbles, I've got overlays and stuff like that, so just make sure you pay attention to that if you don't want to know what happens in the comic. But it's a great comic. Get your hands on it. Number 8 does come out next Wednesday. So
the final panel is amazing. I'm just going to flash it.
Yes, the final panel is incredible and it's heart-wrenching. It's an emotional panel, so we're not going to go any more on that. But moving swiftly on to the man of the moment, it is Ben Crampton, and your comic was Dark Detective.
Come on, Andy, it was never going to be you.
It's true. Story of my life.
I enjoyed it.
I selected Dark Detective, number 2 from Future State, just to check. Have we all read number 1?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So for me, I think
if you just tell me, Ben, when you want to flip to the panels, then I can do that, and then
I'll direct accordingly. No problem.
Okay, thank you very much.
So
thanks, being director.
The first issue, I actually think is the best and maybe only strong comic of the future that I've experienced of the Future States so far. However, I am a massive DC novice, other than Batman. I'm always like swaying towards Batman and really sort of struggle whenever I venture towards anything else. And I was trying to give Future State an opportunity to kind of draw me into some of the other titles. Maybe the new Wonder Woman might have kind of got my attention, but other than that, nothing really has. Now, I think the artwork for this, firstly, is fantastic. I think I sent you a panel with him in the water having a little dip.
My boy Dan Mora, mate.
So Dan Mora, does Dan Mora do the colouring for this as well, though? The colours for this as well? Does he do the ink? Or?
Just the art thing.
Because his art is obviously fantastic, but you know, a lot of these artists are never going to be as good if it wasn't for the compliments that the inker is paying them. And I think the use of colour in this is so fantastic. Like, it's the standard thing to do, isn't it? Is a blue wash, a grey wash, for someone underwater. So to have him in this kind of black, the depths of the water with the kind of neon, it's so in right now, isn't it? That whole cyberpunk thing.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And I think this comic does a really good job of, and it's maybe one of the few kind of Future State comics where you actually feel like, no, this is what the future would look like, because it's kind of not too far out there, but everything does have that kind of neon glow and that kind of edge to it. I think there's a real dramatic moment which looks like an Akira tribute as well.
It is, mate. He shouted it out on his Instagram, and he did do the ink, so just have a look. So he did his own inks. But yeah, he shouted this out on his Instagram earlier today, that this is exactly what you said. It's an Akira homage.
Just fantastic. I mean, stuff like that, you can hear the tires screech, and to create that feeling of motion as an artist is I think, it's really, we take it for granted, I think, as readers. So yeah, the art is good, okay, and the writing, I also think, is good, because unlike a lot of the other Future State stories, it doesn't kind of throw you in without giving you a bit of kind of tapestry as to where you're at. I think I can come out of this 2-issue, because am I right in saying it's just 2 issues, Charlie?
3.
Yeah. Oh, it's 3.
Oh, it's going to be 3. Yeah, right. Okay, that's good. That's good, because I don't want it to stop. But I can come out of this 3 issues already, just in the 2nd issue, having an idea of what that Batman looks like. If someone said, right, what's the Future State Batman? I can tell them, Obviously there's the other Batman as well, but like I now feel like I've got a really clear picture that this is the Batman that is living a kind of, the Bruce Wayne, should I say, that is living a second life with no money, in a kind of a door that's locked using a mechanism that he's like boshed together, and just a little sort of stuff like that in the writing, which I found really entertaining. So I really quite enjoyed this book. I'm really looking forward to the third issue. It's a shame, I think, with all of these that it is going to feel like a fart in the lift, because it's going to kind of come and go as quick as we sort of had it, really. And I, for one, like I'd be happy to read this version of Bruce Wayne for a year, 2 years, whatever it is, so it is a shame, because I am really enjoying it, and just the character design, so cool. Makes no sense, like you've exposed your elbow to penetration there, with the armor just being on his hands and shoulders and stuff, but it looks cool. So
it's kind of like a bodge job, isn't it? It's like he's got no money, so he's just had to put loads of crap together to make an outfit.
It's great.
Like a really bad cosplay.
You looked at me when you said that. How dare you? So yeah, I enjoyed it, guys. I don't know what you thought, but I mean, I don't really have much else to add, really. I just think it's a really intriguing story. I'm intrigued by the magistrate. I think it's quite easy to kind of create these masked characters and who is it, and a lot of the time you kind of don't care, or it's quite predictable. But I genuinely, unless you guys have any theories, I genuinely don't have a clue who this magistrate number one could be, or Peacemaker number one, I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's really hooked me in as a storyline as well. The only thing about this comic that I didn't like was the short Red Hood storyline at the end.
Oh yeah. Such a waste of paper.
Again, it was like the artwork. It did everything opposite to why I loved the first part of the book. The artwork didn't hook me in. The writing didn't seem as mature, shall we say? So yeah.
It seems a real shame.
Sorry, Andy.
I was just going to say, it seems a real shame that if they've got like a third book that's coming out for this, why they didn't just make it 2 longer books and cut those sort of second half stories out. For me, it was definitely the best Future State that I've read, and there's been some absolutely awful ones. And I try to stay as positive and look at the bright side of comics. I enjoy them for what they are, but it was quite a challenge on some of them. I think that the best thing about this, the artwork is obviously fantastic, but the colouring, Jordi Belair done even the panel that you're showing at the moment, everything just absolutely pops. And a lot of this comic, even the cover has got that sort of neon look to it, and it just brings you it is the proper Future, and this is what I imagine Future State to be like. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Looking forward to the third one, but yeah, cut that second story out. It's not needed.
I totally agree, mate. Sorry, Charlie, go on.
Oh, go on, mate.
I was going to say, I totally agree. I think if they were going to do anything with Batman going into the future, this is it. And they should. I think they should stick with this. Now that he's broken and the Joker Wars happened, this should be the Batman comic we should now get for the next few years. Him building himself back up, but we're not going to get that. It's going to go back to the same old stuff, isn't it? That's what I liked about the idea of Future State, is they were going to reset everything and kind of do everything a bit more fresh. This is the only bit of freshness in this whole lot. Actually, to be fair, I do like the new Wonder Woman, Yara Floyd. I think she's pretty cool because she's like the North Herculean mythology, but it doesn't make sense, which is annoying. And that's my problem with all of the Future State stuff, is it just doesn't tie up or make sense apart from this one.
Well, this is the thing. So after this ends, after Future State ends in March, we've got Infinite Frontier, which is again a follow-on from this. But this was my favourite Future State comic so far. I think I mentioned to you guys, I read Suicide Squad the other night, and literally to pages in, I was asleep. I got bored. The characters that they've picked are irrelevant. They've literally, there's nothing going for the whole concept of the story. Whereas this, if this was to follow on, as Tom said, in the main arc of Batman, it's so interesting and it's so relevant now with like the cyberpunk era, the artwork and everything like that. I think people are getting bored of Tinian's Batman now because I've said it time and time again, the build up to the Joker War was 10 times better than the actual Joker War event. And now we're kind of past that now. It's kind of like, right, let's move on to something new. And with this future state, I think this is the way to go.
Yeah.
Like this story for me, this story was slow. Like this Batman story was slow. It was engaging. It was all about the mystery. It was exciting to see how Batman's going to come out the end of his black hole. He's living in a basement. Whereas the Red Hood story, it just seemed like they was running out of pages to save the rest of this comic for a third issue.
Yeah.
And it was just rushed. It was like overpowering. It was like, it wasn't even exciting. It was just like, right, let's just do a couple of clays.
And it was the same Red Hood that we've seen, that we all know already. Do you know what I mean? Like his helmet kind of looked a little bit different, but there wasn't really anything new with that. And
you know what I would have liked them to have done with Red Hood is Doom is like, he regrets everything. Like he completely regrets being an arse to Bruce and like goes down that route of like, what did I do? Like, why did I become so bad as the Red Hood? Why didn't I try and become a good guy, like actually genuine good guy? Why did I break the rules? I think that would have been more interesting to read as a like he's bad, he's broken, he regrets doing anything. Bruce is gone, he's kind of on his own, he's made himself on his own, and just like reflecting on that, I think that would have been much better than I'm in a mask, I'm killing people.
Yeah, just the same old.
Yeah. But I think we can all agree that Dan Mora actually kills it in this issue. Like I know you're a massive fan of him, Tom, and I can see why. Like, this panel here is just incredible. Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible.
Has Dan Mora done any bad art in books that anybody can think of?
I can't think off the top of my head, but if you speak to him, he isn't that forthcoming with his early stuff at Boom. He's not that his own stuff. But that's every artist is the same, mate. We all kind of look at our old shit and go, yeah, that's terrible.
I suppose it's all about progression and all that good stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his school book when he was 8 years old, it doesn't add up to what we see now.
My stuff's still the same, Ben. My spelling is still the same. I can't do that. And my artwork is just as good.
I just want to know how you've seen his school books, Ben. Could you explain that? Could you put them on the big screen and explain that, please?
Everyone's school book.
He bought one for an extortionate price on eBay.
Yeah, they were going for quite a good price, actually.
Speaking of eBay, can I just say these streams are so dangerous? I got off eBay. I got off the Not Quite Mint stream, and I literally just spent 20 quid just quicker than...
Did you get this one?
Do you know what? I looked for it and I couldn't. I found that cover, but it was from overseas and there was a lot of postage and things like that. So I'm going to hold off. I'm just going to keep an eye out for it. But I bought another Looney Tunes #1 just because you go down that hole and then the olive branches grow and it's so dangerous.
Yeah, Ben, I have that cover, so don't worry about it. I'll send it to you.
That one.
Have you got Batman Elmer Fudd? Because I've got it. I just need to make sure that everyone has read that book.
Everybody else, yeah,
one of the greatest books of all time.
Yeah, it's only when you were talking about the Looney Tunes stuff that I was like, oh, I think I have some of those books, so I went and dug some of them out. So yeah.
But what I noticed about this Batman comic, there's only a few of them that have 2 comics in one. So Firehawk mentioned like what was the price of it. Now, for $5.99 or what is it, $4.99 over here or anything, for that value for 2 comics, it's not that bad. I just wish the second issue in the comic was better. Do you know what I mean?
I would have paid $8.99 just to have the Batman story if they'd have taken the second one out.
Agreed. Do you not think that they're banging in these extra stories, like we said earlier, just to stretch out so they can put the other books into other books to make more money? That's my opinion. Because they could have done it. They could have done this one in 2 books, but they've stretched it out over 3, possibly 4. I'm definitely sure it's 3 because me and Rich were talking about it earlier. But it's money making really.
I've just got one last criticism of this book. Not enough Clown Hunter.
He's Peacemaker, mate. Telling you, 100%.
Reckon?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be cool, actually.
Claims.
That'd be
Absolute
awesome.
claims.
I reckon it's going to be. But how does this go back to Batman now? Because I'm so far removed from Batman 105. I've kind of like going to have to go. You're reading into the future.
Have you seen some of the preview art though for 106? There's one of him like jumping out new Batmobile. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Absolute bat porn filth.
Bat porn filth.
And I'm living for it.
I'm not sure what magazine talking about Batman porn and filth Tom's just picked up. I don't know if it's like the latest Hustler or is it Preview magazine?
The previews, but I've just as soon as I put it down, I was like, yeah, DC don't do previews anymore.
No.
Those pages are definitely not quite mint.
Yeah, not anymore.
So yeah, it was a good comic, but I think the second there was no need for it, and I think, to be honest, I would have rather just seen this end be a 49 pager with end after 2 issues. But obviously Batman is their main guy, so they're going to drag it out as much as possible. But has anyone picked up this comic? Is it on anyone's pull list?
Not physical, no.
Not physical. I've got a physical copy.
The only ones I picked up is Dark Detective and the Harley Quinn one. I haven't gone for anything else.
I've not
I did
read
almost buy the second prints, but
the Harley Quinn one is wicked. Yeah, I stopped Andy from buying it because it was just there's no point in you're gonna buy them all and then you're gonna be like, oh, hold on, Future State. Well, what was that? That was just a.
If you like your anime, the Harley Quinn book was good. Okay. If you don't like your anime,
who's anime?
Yeah.
It's this new.
I love it.
It's a new artist that came out. She's pretty cool. But again, that tied in. I liked that because that tied into like the artist style of Batman and stuff like the futuristic cyberpunk, etc. So I enjoyed that, and I'm looking forward to number 2 coming out. So and yeah,
well, you're a bit like me, mate. You just love everything.
I do, and like I'm not being funny. There are some shit comics out there, but if it's good art and it's good, like for me, if it's good art, that kind of trumps the story because I'll end up looking at the art, see how the pencil works done, the shading, the colors and stuff like that, and the story takes a second part. And for me, in most of the Future State stuff, that's kind of happened. Like there's some dodgy art in most of the comics, but Dan Morris consistently, we know what Dan Morris like, so you're always going to be onto a winner with that one.
I was just going to say, Charlie, a different way of looking at it potentially is if we'd have taken those 2 stories for Future State Detective and put them on the back, like a second story on Tinian's run, we would have enjoyed it just as much. So it kind of a question is whether they were even needed.
Yeah, true.
Stick in the back of Tinian's run and we'd have loved it.
The problem is we're doing few stories that are set in the future and you know you're going to come back to the present. Is the whole thing just feels non-consequential. It's maybe different when it's set in the past as a one-off because you kind of know what comes after and it's interesting to see how you got there. But when it's set in the future and it's just like, well, it doesn't really matter anyway. Like, how's it going to affect the present day?
Well, this is it. So my whole thing around this is that obviously it's come out of the back of Death Metal, so it's kind of on that. So what happened in Death Metal, if you didn't read it, it was a fantastic comic and everything. The way it ended played very swiftly into what's happening now. But then surely this should be the present. Do you see what I mean? It's not it should be the present, because if we're going to read it, then we're going back to past state. And it
should be called current state.
Well, yeah, and Wonder Woman's still going to continue. Aquaman's still going to continue. Swamp Thing, Batman, and stuff like that. So it's kind of like DC's up in the air at the moment, which is why we need refreshing comics like Keiju Score. Andy,
Keiju Score. Yeah, this was my choice.
I've got to hold my hands up. I didn't read it, mate. I haven't read it, but I'm halfway through issue number 1, and this is only. This is only because
Petal Black.
This is only because.
Did you have it?
Andy told me about it, and I was like, "Oh, it's been there. I've read it. I'm halfway through issue 1, but I just didn't. I'm a dad of 3 kids, right? I didn't have time to read this comic, and I'm gutted because halfway through issue 1, I'm so gutted I couldn't get to the end of issue 3.
So wait a minute, Charlie. So what you're telling me, as the host of the show,
Yes.
I went through the trouble of getting you these screenshots for your sexy, lovely overlays. Someone didn't bother, but you read his comic.
Yeah. It's because I'm invested in that, and because I was naive and thought, okay, Kaiju score. What's this going to be about?
And well, he can't even say the word. He says Kaiju, and it's Kaiju, so it's not a good start, is it?
I'm a Cockney, mate. It's Kaiju.
We'll just do it with just me and you, mate.
Okay,
from Southeast London, it is Kaiju. All right, Kaiju, Yuju, Jiu-Jitsu. Deng Fuju, Hit You, whatever. It's a really good comic. I apologise live to my 8 viewers and the 3 on here. I didn't read the comic. I hold my hands up really, really bad. But
sorry, I forgive you, Charlie. It's fine.
Tell the scene then, Andy. Tell us.
I'll sell the scene. I'll sell it to you without giving you any spoilers. So, Kaiju score. I've been invested in this right from the beginning. It's effectively, think of Quentin Tarantino directs Ocean's 11. This is effectively what you would get in this comic. And then for good measure, you throw some monsters in. So what's there not to like? So this comic, this is obviously issue 3. So the first issue kind of set the scene where you were meeting the characters and you were sort of building up and developing what their characters were like. And then issue 2 was the plan that they'd set up. The team was ready to go, and it's all in connection to a heist. And they're trying to steal artwork. But the flip side of this, and this is what makes this kind of comic unique, is the fact that they're planning this heist whilst the kaiju or the monsters come on land every year.
Stick with monsters.
Yeah, it sounds better, doesn't it? Whenever the sexy monsters come on land, well, that sounded worse than what I anticipated it to be. And so what they're planning on doing is stealing this artwork whilst this is all happening. So it kind of leads up to that. So this third issue was when they were just waiting for the monster to come on land, and they were going to set the trap and go and steal this artwork. But what they didn't anticipate is that there was going to be a second monster that was going to fight each other. And I think I sent you a second panel, which was kind of like the third page of the comic, Charlie. Yeah, this one. So I loved this page. It set the scene. It told you about the 2 monsters, what they were all about and why they sort of disliked each other. It was sort of good versus evil. And it reminded me of the sort of design variant covers that I decided not to buy for Future State. This is a second print waiting to happen, if I've ever seen one. So if James Patrick or Rem Brew, who's the artist, is watching this, which I'm sure they are, they're probably one of the 7 people that's watching at the minute.
They will be.
Aftershock Comics, you heard it here first. This is going to be a second print cover. So yeah, the third issue was solid. It was a solid issue for me, and it continued the story. I just don't know how far they can stretch the whole premise of them about to steal this artwork and how many monsters they can introduce. But in saying that, the more monsters they introduce, the more pages like this that they introduce, I'm all in. I'm happy to read it. It's a really fun book.
These pages are so cool.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Have you read it, Tom?
Did you read it, Ben?
I did. Why is everyone like as if I didn't? I did, but I'll be honest, right? I'll cut in and then I'll let you talk, Tom, because I don't have huge amounts to say, because I did find myself, and I am sorry, I did find myself doing, and we all do it as comic book readers sometimes. All right, there's no shame. I just found myself skimming.
Oh, you're not one of those skimmers, are you?
I skimmed like a mother. I just the artwork for me. I'm not this kind of artwork. For me, it always screams indie book. It's very stylized, with the kind of elongated limbs and things like that. I'm an absolute bad boy skimmer. You better know that.
That's his rap name, Bad Boy Skimmer.
Swiping left like a bad day on Tinder, weren't you?
Hey, they skimmed me. I'll skim them back. But yeah, so the artwork's so stylized, and sometimes I find that a bit jarring, and it starts to make me kind of separate myself a little bit. I don't go into a kind of vortex as much as I would when, it's someone like Dan Mora or something. It's a shame as well, because I think the design of kaijus and monsters in general deserves like the most intricate of the more kind of detailed and intricate a monster is, the kind of the better it is, the more monstrous it is. And as you can see from this panel, it's quite kind of basic. I think it's not that textured and as layered and as kind of monstrous as I would want my monsters to be. The one thing I will say is, in the first book they had about 4 or 5 pages, I think, of like public information. In case there's a kaiju attack, don't do this, and these are some of the common myths. That was absolutely fantastic. Like I genuinely, I'm like tempted to try and screenshot them and get them blown up as a print or something on the wall, because they're just so cool. Like, I really love that, and it's probably the way global warming's going, a matter of time before we're in that situation. And if it's not kaiju, it will just be Trump or something. So it's good to have that information to hand.
I knew this wasn't going to be one that everybody would like and take to, specifically because of the art. And the colour palette as well is quite it's kind of a limited colour palette throughout the whole comic.
It's very blush. It's very blush.
Very blush, yeah. It's like
very red.
Yeah. But even if you look at the artwork of, the female character there, and even the male character down the bottom right. Now, this was obviously the last panel, and it doesn't actually give a huge amount of spoilers away, which is great. This is why I picked it. But I just like the perspective of this and the way it's been drawn. But I think the worst that you can do with the artwork in this is compare it to other stuff, specifically, Strange Academy that we've just looked at. And interestingly enough, that Aftershock Media are in talks with Sony to actually put this to pilot. So you hear it here first.
It's a fantastic concept, and I'm a big fan of foul language, and it got a lot of that in there.
So it definitely does. Yeah, I think the best thing about this is the originality of it. I think this is what Future State doesn't have, is the originality of the story. If you could maybe take not to diss Rembrandt's artwork, but it's not for everyone. So you have to wonder if you could have like some of the artwork that was on Future State comics and stick it in this story and the originality, what it could come. So yeah.
But for me, this comic would have gone over my head, Andy, if you hadn't have suggested it. Like, if you hadn't have said that you was read free for this show, I wouldn't have read it, and I didn't. But I wouldn't have jumped into like reading issue 1. I was reading issue 1 before we jumped on, and I want to go and read out and find out more. And it's interesting because obviously we've like all got different diverse like interests in the comics and stuff like this. This I wouldn't have read it, but it's something I'm going to look at now going forward.
Yeah. I think this is the beauty of how you've sort of changed things up as well, where you actually get people to choose the comics, because it kind of forces you to read things you wouldn't always read.
Yeah.
Strange Academy for me been one of them. I hadn't read it yet, so I think this is what's going to really work well for this.
Well, Christ, look at me! I haven't picked up indie books in maybe since I started collecting comics. And since I've been part of this, I'm not going to say community because it makes me feel sick in my mouth. But since I've known you lot,
that's your yogurt.
Since I've known you lot, I'm getting really behind. Like, Something Is Killing the Children is blowing my mind, for example.
And issue number 14 was incredible. I'm kind of surprised no one picked that. As
I haven't read it. But yes,
it's incredible.
It didn't make no difference to me. I didn't read this one, mate. But
True, yeah. You didn't read it.
Yeah, lads, go on, pick your own books, then we'll all read them.
Then we'll read them and we'll talk about them. I won't read them because it's my show. I can do what I want.
But I do have to agree with Ben on this. Like, I think with the sacredness of the animal, the kaiju, whatever, with that coming to forefront, I think the art could have complemented that a lot better. And and it does at times, like looking at this panel, looking at some of the panels in issue 1, it is very comic-y, ironically, and it doesn't really fit the story and the premise of the history of it. But going back to what Ben said, like the start and the collectibles at the beginning of it, like you want to get framed and stuff, they do that in Strange Academy. Like they've got the ingredients of the food that they're going to make for lunch, they've got like their timestamps, they've got their school reports and stuff like that is really engaging, because I find myself reading that, because you never know if you're going to find any Easter eggs or anything in it.
They've done it for
then
Scouts.
you can go overboard with that,
like Jonathan
for
Hickman.
example, X-Men.
I knew that was good.
They done it for Scouts Honor, which is another recent book. What they've done at the end of it is give you all the Scouts badges that you could get.
Little Benji on the avocado halfway again. Monge 2, Rodder, Sponge 2.
I was going to make a really interesting point now, and that was ruined. So
Go on. Sorry, go on.
No, it doesn't matter.
Distracted by fat jokes.
I can't get Monge 2 in my head now.
100%.
Oh.
I'm all for that. But yeah, this comic, like, if it wasn't for you, Andy, I don't think I would have got into it.
Yeah.
How do we pronounce it again? Is it Kaiju?
Kaiju.
Okaiju is a Scottish way.
Or Kaiju?
It's actually Kaiju. It's silent K.
Or Kaiju.
Okay,
Hawkeye.
the new Jew.
Okay, the new Jew score. Right, okay, cool.
Just say score. Fine.
Yeah, monsters.
Hawkeye.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Hawkeye. But yeah, so that's your 3 comics. I'm going to go on to my one.
Didn't read it.
I didn't read it. I just looked at the
didn't read
artwork. But it is by Scout Comics. It's Stake number 1. I'm not sure if she's still in the chat, but the artist of this comic, Francesca Fantini, was in the chat. She's going to answer some questions if she still is. She probably isn't. Probably got bored and found something better to do. But for me,
Wouldn't blame her.
No, I was thinking about doing it.
if I'm going to be honest, the premise of the story is very similar to the thousands of vampire comics that are out there at the moment that have been done. It's been done before. And it's very hard not to compare Stake.
You've got the writer in as well.
I'll get David in.
Yeah, David.
Excellent.
Hey.
Right, so joining David.
But honestly, I'll be.
You
I'll be
can't
serious.
slag off the writing now and then be nice about the art.
No,
Whatever
I'm
he
You've got them
said.
both in now, so you've got to be nice about everything.
This is an honest show, and I'm going to give my honest feedback. Now, as I just mentioned, David, thank you for joining us. The premise is very much like the same as vampire films that have been done before, vampire comics and stuff like that. And I think it's very hard for readers to not compare Stake, who is the main character, to like a big vampire killer like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So it is an enjoyable read, and I think the artwork is sensational. For me, it did kind of jump around a little bit too much. Like we're opening with this fantastic entrance of the main page, which opens with this. Now, this got my attention straight away, to be fair. It just, the fact for me, like I like black and white drawings, and we've spoken about this before, and I think with the flash of color and everything, it really grabbed my attention. So for this, as one of the first pages, I was like, kind of, wow, this is what we're kind of getting into now. And I think with the dialogue works well with the artwork and it's fitting. I just think it would have been better to stay in line instead of kind of jumping around, stay in the present, and instead of flipping back to finding out how we found out about Stake and stuff. But I mean, what did you guys think about it? I mean, it's
well,
good.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Classic
you know,
bear.
because I'm up north and you can't fight me. But I think that kind of the way this book was written and the story was explored, I think the whole kind of it even addresses, you know, elements of like Buffy and all the kind of vampire cliches and stuff. So I think it does do that in a kind of tongue-in-cheek way, or at least that's how it kind of came across to me, that everything was done with a dash of humor. I think that kind of sporadic, quick kind of story and writing kind of matched up with, I mean, we're examples of it, guys, that YouTube generation, like,
that was great.
Hi guys, like, it's me, like, Daisy Doo-Doo, back with another, like, and it was that annoying, like, YouTube
from
kind
now
of,
on,
like,
you have to do that on your channel. I'm Daisy.
Well, Ben, what you're talking about, that leads on to the social aspect of this part. So this is life now, isn't it? Like, everything is living life through a lens, taking pictures and everything. And this, for me, this is why I don't do Instagram Live, is because everything's back to front.
Have you seen, there's a film out at the moment, I think it was on Netflix, with the guy from Stranger Things where he plays like a vlogger, and it's a psychopath movie, basically. But it really points fun at the culture of, like, YouTubers and vloggers and things like that, and Instagram and stuff. And this kind of gave me the same vibe, that it wasn't like pandering to that audience. If anything, I kind of felt like it was kind of taking the biscuit a bit out of it all, and I like to take the biscuit out of YouTubers. He says, sat here as a YouTuber, but I've got a real penchant, can I just say? Anyone who knows me, if you guys were wearing black lipstick right now, I wouldn't be able to control myself. So aesthetically, I loved the design of Steak. I love that kind of, like, alternative.
I think can we say it was well done?
Punky.
Steak was well done.
Sorry.
Oh, that Twitch is back. And so I really enjoyed, like, the character designs. Now, I've gone on record previously whinging about black and white art, and I read Batman Black and White 2 this week, and it had that effect on me that I've had before, where I just get lost in and amongst it, and I feel like what's supposed to pop isn't popping, and I get lost, and then I kind of give up a little bit as a reader. This is the opposite. This, I felt like, perfectly kind of draws out what you need to look at, and it has a real kind of vibrancy and a pop to it, and a kind of, I mean, the next to me there she is, the expression, the expressions on the characters, like, there's some really great kind of character work there as well, and just the little bits of, the red on the record, the blood. I think there's kind of dashes of green and blue as we go through the panels, and I just really enjoyed this book, and I'm glad, because again, I'm one of those Philistine Marvel, Batman, fans who don't read the indies as much as I should, and I'm so grateful for this to give me the opportunity to bring this to my kind of attention, and I really enjoyed it. So I've made myself a Steak t-shirt already. I've got a leather jacket, just need to get the wig and some lipstick.
David, if you are still in the chat, just a massive shout out to Ben, because head over his channel. He does fantastic cosplay, and I think all of us here, and probably the guys in the chat, are very looking forward to, now that he's made his own Steak t-shirt, to seeing what he's going to bring to us on Instagram and also YouTube. So Ben, we are looking forward to that, mate.
Yeah, happy days.
Now James has just said we'll need to check this out. Love Vampires pre-Twilight ruined it. Now this, for me, the story I got really into after this. This artwork here is just, it signifies all the vampires and everything. And we've even got, for James there's a special Edward Cullen in the corner there. We've got Angel from Buffy the Vampire, Blade, Bram Stoker's Dracula. And it was...
You've even got Count at the top.
Yeah, you can't leave the Count out.
Before you go on, Charlie, when on Ben's note with the whole art side of things, to get shading and toning like this on characters,
it's incredible.
Just incredible. It's a real testament to how good she is as an artist, because you cannot just do that. It's not a case of pen to paper. That is some hard ass graph, that is, and it's beautiful. Massive respect.
David calls that the Vampy Bunch, and I'll tell you what, this David, would you be able to confirm how many issues this is going to be? Because I think this is one that, for me personally, I've said it at the start, for me, the story took a while to get into, but then later on in the scenes, without giving too much away, when we find out more about Steakhash's leading the stakeout to get the vampires and stuff like that, it started to flow. It was wicked. It was energetic. And I'm really looking forward to finding out how many issues this is going to, 4 to 6 issue arcs with spin-offs between planned. You heard it here first, guys. This is going to be
fantastic. Cool.
It's going to be, and this is, as Tom will know, being an artist himself, this is incredible artwork. This is, and it's just the pops of color that stand out, that draw your eyes to it.
Oh, mate, to get this kind of tonal, to make characters look three-dimensional, to you to like to fall in, like, kind of just be taken away is just insane. I think the artwork on this is just it's incredible. I loved it from start to finish. The artwork, story, not so much, but I feel like it's a slow burner. I think I'm going to read all the issues because I think it's going to be a bit like, have you guys ever read Invincible, where it started off
exactly
okay, and then as it got through, you're like, oh my god, this is amazing, and the first issue is so relevant, which is why you have to read it. I'm looking forward to reading the rest of this for sure.
We've got Can't Include Sesame Street Puppet. He doesn't count. James, it's definitely something I'm going to sink my teeth into.
For God's sake. Who invited Big Dads in the chat?
Yeah, it's best with peppercorn sauce.
Wait until you see her work in issue 2. It floors me every time I get pages. Now, this is... I'm looking forward to this. I really am.
I'd love to see this particular page on, like, again, if it goes to second print for the first issue. I think that would be an absolutely stunning cover.
Yeah.
This was.
But we
this
do
was
also have. Sorry, James. I do actually have the variant cover as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
But I think this cover is so much more.
Yeah.
And I think I see on eBay there's a VHS version, which is a variant as well. But I mean, it is great.
It's punk. Like, I think that it's that feeling of like rock and roll and punk and kind of like scattiness, you know, which, you know, I think again, it comes across in the writing, that kind of that rush, you know, that scattiness, which that's what young people are like, you know. Everything has to happen quickly, and you have to have results quickly. And why aren't, you know, more than 10 people watching my videos? And who does that sound like? But yeah, like this cover's just so kind of punk and rock and roll, and yeah, I'm all for it. I love that panel going back to the kind of A to Z of vampires there. I love that they included Vlad the Impaler, who I'm pretty sure out of everyone there is the actual, like, is the only real like psychopathic murderer. So yeah, I appreciated that. But again, I think it's all about the humor, I think, of this book, which I really kind of bought into.
I think she's going to be a great character, and as I mentioned, I think Tom is right. It is a slow burn, and I got into it reading it, and I was like, "Oh, it's taking its time. Like, let's get into it." And then there's a certain scene with like an ambulance, and from then it was just fast paced. It was action. There was characters coming through places that you weren't really expecting, and it kind of all, you find out that it was a certain part of it was a setup, and it was great. And I'm looking forward to reading the following issues, and I think now that it's kind of picked up pace, it can only get better.
Agreed. I agree with that.
Andy, what you was going to say before I rudely interrupted you, mate?
Oh no worries, man. No, it was my wild card sort of comic of the week on my Instagram. So I was really looking forward to this. It sort of felt like Vampire Bounty Hunters when I was reading a little bit of synopsis on previews. And I love the sort of Sin City element of it with the splashes of red. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. I think the story for me, I think expectations wise, whenever you're getting into a vampire story, you just want vampires to be biting the life out of people from the very beginning, but we didn't get that. And I can kind of see.
Page 1.
Pretty sure we did.
Get that, page 1.
I think
were you skimming? Were you skimming?
No,
I wasn't skimming.
A.
Yeah. Screw you guys.
No, but I know what you mean. I think it's the same. Like, you just expect action and gore and blood and guts from the beginning.
Yeah, there was more of context built up on this one, and I like the sort of modern elements of using the mobile phone and on Instagram and stuff like that. So I think it's set up really well for the second issue. It's definitely something that I'll be picking up and reading, and the artwork, it goes without saying, it's absolutely stunning, and it really complements the book.
But what Francesca's been doing, if you check her out on her Instagram, she's been giving like little snippets of the different art strokes, like the drawings and different comic panels and stuff like that. So we never know, we might get like a highlight of what's coming in issue 2 and stuff. But it's definitely sorry, I've just been interrupted. James said, is that Lesat up in the back beside Big David Boreanaz? And she's confirmed, yes it is. And I think that is going to this one. So there we go.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer wishes that she was Steak. That's what it felt like after reading this.
And for me, it felt like Steak was another Erica Slaughter. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, we're getting these fantastic, like, kick-ass female characters. You know that, they're just great. They're kind of unapologetic, balls to the wall. You know, and I'm always really kind of drawn to. Just people who I think who are like that anyway. I mean, you guys, your balls are all over the walls. That's why I love you.
I've seen that picture.
I'll take that.
Love how wanky the villains are as well, and the fact that she kind of says that, like Steak kind of narrates that, like you know that they are kind of douchebags, and you know all parts of it. And I apologize if this wasn't the intention. David, but you know, there's parts of it that almost feel like it is kind of ripping on the kind of Twilight, because Twilight kind of did that thing of like, right, you know, this is what vampires would be like now. And it's like, no, they wouldn't. Like, no one was that
sparkles,
douchey or like annoying, like
sparkling vampires who are just angsty teenagers. Nobody wants that.
But I don't know. I don't know if this was part of the thinking behind it and stuff, but the bottom section of that is obviously, the top section is how we perceive vampires, how famous they've been and we know them, and the bottom part is kind of like how Twilight should have been. So you know, when they enter, I don't know if you've seen it, when they enter the school for the first time and everyone's like looking at them because Edward Cullen's so beautiful and it's like, wow, he's perfect skin. This is kind of like how badass they should have been.
Yeah.
But then again, I wouldn't call him badass. I'd call him wanky. Like, look at that scarf. Like, but and I think Steak literally comments on that. Like, she, you know, and the speech that he does is very kind of like, you know, now is our time.
She skims past it. She's like, oh, is he still going? Is he still going?
And that's great. And I was reading the comic in her voice, in that speed, you know, in that kind of like, you know, and yeah, I mean, yeah, clearly I liked it. So thanks, guys. Take care. All the best.
See you.
And we've been told you guys are reading it right, which is good. So I'm glad that I'm reading it right. Yes, it was for me.
Which my teachers could have told me that back in the day.
Yeah,
it was a slow burner, but I think it's definitely going to pick up pace. And I'm interested to find out. Obviously, we found out it's a 4 to 6 issues. Hopefully, it comes out over the next couple of weeks instead of like leaving it 4 or 5 weeks before the next issue comes out.
Charlie, you've got to be honest as well with the viewers that we have spent the week in our chat, our little, you know, group chat, making various jokes about Steak.
Yeah, we have.
So just wanted to air that.
It's been momentous Steak occasions. It has been, my original script totally called him out to look like a douche.
Yeah. I know. I can spot a douche a mile off.
Is it just me? But I would love to see. I would love to see. I would love to see a face-off between Steak and Erica Slaughter.
Yes. Yeah, that would be awesome.
I think
with Buffy as a ref.
Yeah, with Buffy as a ref. I think Steak would win.
And Mud.
It would take about 14 issues for Erica Slaughter to lose.
Yeah.
But it's been a good night. Thank you for everyone that joined in the chat. Thank you, David. Thank you, Violet. Thank you, James. Comet Deal, Firehawk, Hydra Collectibles. I think there was a good selection of comics, guys, and I definitely think this is the way going forward, like to read comics that you guys select. Sorry, Andy, I didn't read the one you selected, but I will. That won't be a force of habit. I will be reading the comics that everyone puts forward. What have we got coming
like
up?
a true leader. Here, have some democracy, but I'm not going to do it myself.
Go out, don't go out. Stay in.
Did you have your favourite out of the 4?
Yes, I did.
What's your pick?
And it would have to be Strange Academy number 7.
Yeah, I to be honest, I think that's probably my pick as well.
I think it's because for 7 issues, I've been emotionally involved in it. It's like 7 Secrets. I've kind of, and as Tom said, the characters grab you in. Like you get invested in the characters, and then that opens up the story. So yeah, it's got to be Strange Academy number 7. Ben?
Francesca, David, for me, it was Stake 1. Issue 1.
Liar.
I'm going to say suck up.
Yeah, absolute liar.
Someone's trying to get some creators on his Instagram.
Ben, what was yours, mate?
Yeah, I did. Obviously, I love Stake, as I've kind of
as a meeting,
said there for a prolonged amount of time. But no, Strange Academy, I think I've smashed through not just that issue, but the whole run so far. And there wasn't a weak issue or a weak moment in that. And is it a massive rip-off of Wolverine and the X-Men? Maybe a little bit. But if it means that I'm getting what I loved about Wolverine and the X-Men, then I'm happy. So yeah, Strange Academy.
So I think Strange Academy is the winner. And I think will too. Violet, thank you so much for supplying us with sensational art. I'm looking forward to seeing more of your art on Instagram. Looking forward to reading issue 2 with the way that David has sensationally said that your artwork made him fall on the floor. So we're definitely going to be featuring that when it is available. David, thank you so much for taking the time for joining us for Geeks to talk about comics. We hope you
and I hope they both stay tuned to my Instagram as well, because the Stake cosplay is
on that note
now has to be done, doesn't it?
Would you like to follow on with that to let us know what you guys have got planned on your show? So Ben, what's happening on your channel?
Well, the fact that I have a channel is what's happening, because I have been away from the YouTubes for a while, but I'm back. Same kind of nonsense, really. It's 10 minutes of your life that you might not get back each week, but you're giving it to me and my ego. So nothing's better than that, is it? But no, I basically picked my favorite cover, my favorite panel, and my favorite overall read of the week. So hopefully I'm bringing stuff to people's attention that they might not have seen or heard about yet. And if not, then I'll give you a couple of dad jokes in between it all to make it watchable, hopefully. But yeah, so that's Attention Seeking Geek.
I've just dropped your YouTube.
Oh, drop it like it's hot, Charlie.
Drop it like it's hot.
There we go. Andy, what have we got up from you, sir?
Yeah, so I don't have anything planned for YouTube, but I have sent off some comics to get pressed and cleaned by James Gower. So I'm looking forward to those coming back and getting those CDC'd. I think I'm going to be jumping on Not Quite Mint's channel at some point for a CGC unboxing. And whenever I get stuff in, I'll jump on live. I do more live stuff. So that's Perpetual Comics and perpetual.comics on Instagram.
There we go, and I've just dropped your YouTube as well for you. And
was there another Perpetual Comics? Is that where you had to put a dot in? Do you want me to have a word?
Yeah, yeah, it was really annoying. If you could,
let's have a word.
Thomas,
not quite me. We will be doing our weekly Key show, where we'll talk about what key comics to pick up on Wednesday. On Thursday, we've got our final episode of our chat with Ross Ritchie, where we had a little bit of a discussion about talking comics and stuff with him. He's actually a really good one because there's a bit of banter between him and Rich. It's quite funny. So that's that issue. And we're hopefully doing a live unboxing with Andy because Rich has got some CGCs he's had received. And also on notquitemint.com this weekend, we will be dropping 2 brand spanking new exclusives. So please head over and check that out.
I'm just going to drop your...
That storm cover you posted this evening. Oh my gosh. Stop it.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Ben, will you be picking that up?
Yeah. Take all of my money. Take it now.
I can't show it at the moment, but there is a Tyler Kirkham coming for issue 4 of King in Black that's absolutely out of this world.
Looking forward to that.
Sold.
But guys, it's been another great show. Thank you for joining me. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Violet Art has just said, Firehawk, of course, if you want, I'm on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, TikTok. Search Francesca Fantini. So I think...
That sounds like a lot of work, Francesca, all of those social medias.
Charlie, I feel like the next issue of Stake, we should have the creators on with us.
I think we should. I think Violet, David, would you be up for that? If you could just let me know in the chat or send me a message over on Instagram and we can see what we can put together. That would be great. Joining us three. That would be, yeah, something, fingers crossed. So guys, on that note, it's been great as always having you on my show. Thank you for taking the time to spend it with me. Bad Boys of Comics, Bad Boys for Life. And on that note, enjoy your Thursday evening, guys, and let's speak soon. Get your waves out. Ta-ta. Ta-ta.
Ta-ta.